Hi folks, welcome back to My World of Tanks replays with the mighty Jingles. Once again, we're back on the test server and we're looking at the last of the new Russian tank destroyers, or the first of the new Russian tank destroyers, depending on how you want to look at it, the Tier 7 SU-100M1, which is the first of the new Russian tank destroyers that you'll unlock after the SU-100. And it's an interesting machine, and that's largely down to the gun selection, because all of the new Russian tank destroyers have one thing in common. Well, they have a number of things in common. They're very quick, they're very stealthy, they're very agile, and they all have guns taken from existing tanks. They all have heavy tank guns bolted onto their chassis, except for this little thing. While it does still have an existing gun, it's a medium tank gun. In fact, it's a selection of medium tank guns rather than heavy tank guns, and that's an interesting choice. But we'll come on to that when we look at the guns. For now, the rest of the stats: 838 points, which is not bad, but it's at the lower end of the Tier 7 tank destroyer health pool. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that, just had a cough. Yeah, 32.75 tons. It's quite a light machine, as you'd expect. I mean, look at the size of it and compare it to the ISU-152. Yeah, it's tiny. So yeah, 32.75 tons, 600 horsepower engine. It can do 50 kilometers per hour, which is pretty damn good. And more importantly, 34-degree traverse speed, so it turns very, very quickly. Now, it does have, and this is surprising, better armour than the SU-152. So it's smaller, it's faster, and it's got better armour. But it's not just the thickness of the armour, it's all sloped and angled as well. Again, from the front, a lot like the SU-101. Shooting at this thing, and it's all either slope, angle, or gun mantle. That's all you can hit. And unlike the SU-101, if you look at the SU-101 from the front, you can at least shoot for this driver's viewport arrangement here. There is no such thing on the front of the SU-100M1. I am guessing, but I don't know, that is a weak spot. That little port there in the gun mantle. I would imagine these periscopes and rangefinders would be weak spots, but look at how small they are. So this is another one of those machines that's very, very, very difficult to kill from the front, because everything that you look at is either slope, angle, or gun mantle. Now, it does have a more exposed lower glacis than the SU-101 or the SU-122. So you're probably going to have more success shooting at the lower glacis of this thing. And it seems to be split into a number of different armour zones. Whereas this, for example, the upper glacis here is just one solid plate, all at a 60-degree angle. Or possibly even a 45-degree angle. And it's kind of difficult to tell, but it does look like you've got a solid strip going down to there, and then it turns and angles down to there, and then it turns and angles down to there. It looks like the lower glacis is split up into 3 different angle zones, which probably means that if you can hit the upper part of the lower glacis, it's at a flatter angle than the rest of the lower glacis. So, you know, that's the way to go. But as always, when you're shooting at the lower glacis of these very, very low machines, don't do it at close range, because the angle that you have to aim down to actually get your gun pointed at this thing turns it into practically an automatic bounce zone. At close range in a tall tank, from the front, your best bet, if you can't shoot right down into that into the top of that engine deck, shoot into that, because again, pointing a gun down turns it into a 90-degree angle and a direct hit. From the side, this thing is not a guaranteed penetration even from the side. It's 75mm thick at the side, and look, I mean, look, sloped, angled. Fighting compartment is your best bet. Not only is it a bigger target, but you're going to kill the crew, because that's where they all are. I mean, trying to hit the front of the vehicle from the side, it's better sloped, it's a smaller target, and it is very, very low profile. Aiming under the armour skirt at the side is probably not the wisest thing to do, because the tracks are all in the way. There's a chance that the tracks are just going to eat the shot, and there's not much of it there to shoot at. Best bet from the side is definitely the fighting compartment. But be careful, because you don't want to miss and hit this gun mantle, because that would ruin your day. From the rear, obviously, shoot the thing any way you like. It really doesn't matter. But it's another one of those small, fast, agile. Small, and did I say small? I mean, look at it. It's a tiny target. There's hardly anything to shoot at from the front that isn't sloped or angled. View range is about standard, 360 meters. Signal range, it still suffers from your Russian mid-tier crappy radio curse, 525 meter signal range. So, but it's the guns. It's really all about the guns on this thing. And you've got a choice of 3. So if we go to the research tree and find ourselves an SU-100M1, there it is. And there are 3 guns, and they're all medium tank guns, but just tank destroyer versions of them. So you've got the D10S, you've got the LB1, you've got the D54. Now the D54, we all know and love from the T54. The LB1, first available on the T44, but also available on the T54. And then the D10S is your standard crappy mid-tier Russian 100mm. Oh my god, is that all you've got? Gun. Only it's not terrible on the 100M1. The rate of fire is pretty good. The penetration is, yeah, it's alright, it's average. It's your standard around tier 7 Russian 175mm penetration. The damage is acceptable. It's on the low side, 230, but you know, it's only 100mm. And the accuracy ain't too bad at all. 0.37 on this thing. If you have the same gun on the SU-101, it's 0.35, even better, but 0.37 isn't terrible. It's not great, but it isn't bad. But the best thing about it is this 1.7 second aiming time. So that's an interesting choice, and you're going to have to go through it anyway, because you need to go through that one to unlock this one, the LB1C. This is a version of the gun first available on the T44, which you can also use on the T54 as you're grinding out for the 2 top guns on the T54. Good rate of fire, 9.38. Same average-ish penetration, 175. Same average-ish damage, 230. Very, very accurate, 0.33. And again, very, very fast aiming time. Now, this quick aiming time is a godsend on these machines, because their one disadvantage is they have very, very limited gun traverse. This is what you have if you have a very, very small fighting compartment mounted really far back on the tank. You can't really turn the gun around too much. So quick aiming times like that, 1.7 seconds, are really, really good news on these machines. So that's not a bad gun at all. Very accurate, very fast aiming time, quick rate of fire. But once you've unlocked that, this is the one you get, the 100mm D54S. Now this is a bit of a mixed bag. It's available also on the SU-101 at tier 8. So when you're using this thing on the SU-101, it has an 8.33 rounds per minute rate of fire. On this thing, it only has a 6.67 rounds per minute rate of fire. So we're talking heavy tank reload standards on this medium tank gun. It does have good penetration. For tier 7, that's really, really good penetration, 219mm. And the damage is good as well, 320. Let's not forget, this is a gun that you get on a tier 9 medium tank. It's one of the best guns you can get on a tier 9 medium tank. And we're getting it here on a tier 7 tank destroyer, so this is a bit of a bargain. It's not that accurate. On the SU-100M1, it's 0.37 accuracy. When you use the same gun on the SU-101, it suddenly becomes actually quite very accurate, 0.35. And again, this gun on the SU-101 is 1.7 second aiming time, but unfortunately on the SU-100M1 it's 2.3 seconds. So what you're looking at here is a gun that has a slowish rate of fire for a tank destroyer. Good penetration, good damage, is reasonably accurate, and has a slowish aiming time. And that's an interesting little choice. Because bearing in mind the sort of games that this thing can get into, It's a tier 7 tank destroyer, so it can get into tier 7 games, tier 8 games, or tier 9 games. But it does have one of the best guns available on a tier 9 medium tank. Which means if you're in a tier 7 game, happy days, carnage ensues. And you can do very, very well in a tier 8 game. But if you get into a tier 9 game, you're a tank destroyer with a tier 9 medium tank gun. Now, you could say a lot of things about the D54 gun on the T54, but one of the things you could not say about it is it makes a good sniper weapon. It's a great brawling weapon, definitely. It's a great brawling gun. It served the T54 very, very well for a long time, and made it a really, really good brawling tank. That and its armour, obviously, and its speed and manoeuvrability. And this thing's got the speed, and it's got the manoeuvrability, but it ain't a medium tank. And the one thing that D54 gun is not very good at is sniping, because of the aiming time and the average to not too good accuracy. And they've stuck that on a tank destroyer, which isn't a medium tank, and wants to sit back and take pot shots. Now, you can say, yeah, but the BL-10 gun is, it's not very accurate either, and has a horrible aiming time. Well, yeah, it does, but it does 750 damage, not 320. I don't mind tank destroyers that have horribly inaccurate guns. I don't mind tank destroyers that have really, really slow aiming times. I don't mind tank destroyers that have really long reloads, like that thing. But when that thing hits, it can do over 1,000 damage. That does an average of 320. But it's not terribly inaccurate. It's okay accuracy. The aiming time isn't terrible. It's okay aiming time. The rate of fire isn't bad. It's average rate of fire. It's got good penetration and good damage, but it's not great penetration or great damage. And it's just a really interesting choice of a gun to put on a tier 7 tank destroyer. And don't get me wrong, you can do amazing things in tier 7 and 8 games with that gun. But let's not forget, this is a gun that was designed for a tier 9 medium tank. And it works just great on a tier 9 medium tank. But you get yourself into a tier 9 game, and you can and you will get into tier 9 games on this machine. This is not a tier 9 medium tank. And if you try and play it like one, you're going to die very, very quickly. It's a tank destroyer. And in a tier 9 game, you need to be using this thing like a traditional tank destroyer, because while it's got decent slope on the armour and so on, it's only 90mm thick, and suddenly you're in a tier 9 game. And you need to sit back, hide, and shoot at things from long range. And that isn't really what this gun's for. I mean, you can do it. As I say, the stats aren't terrible. 0.37 accuracy is alright. There are plenty of tank destroyers in the game that wish they had guns with 0.37 accuracy. There are plenty of tank destroyers in the game that wish they had 6.67 rounds rate of fire, that wish they had 2.3 seconds aiming time. But they all do at least 750 average damage when they hit with 286mm of penetration, not 219 pen and 320 damage. That's the trade-off. So, interesting gun. Interesting selection of guns. They're all medium tank guns. But that one, yeah. Tier 7 match? No problem. Tier 8 match? No problem. Tier 9 match? You're going to have problems. Trying to get through the front of E75s with that thing? Yeah. If you get yourself into a tier 9 game with this, you're a support machine. Go with the mediums. That's what you need to do. Well, I'll show you what I mean, because here's a tier 9 game that I prepared earlier. Now, this one's going to be a scary fight. It's a tier 9 game, and it's a very tier 9 game. Almost 2/3 of the team, well over half of the team are tier 9. Now we've got a couple of tier 8s, and then there's little old me and the Panther sitting down right at the bottom of the list with the Scouts. It ain't looking that much better on the other side. In fact, it's exactly the same. They also have a Panther and an SU-100M1. So we need to be really careful in this match. I mean, while it's true that we do have, technically, the T-54's D-54 gun, this is an improved version of it. It is more accurate on this thing than on the T-54. So it's not entirely fair to say medium tank gun on a tank destroyer. Here come the scouts, probably anxious to get this over with as quickly as possible, especially given that there is no artillery in this game. Although that guy could have been a lot more used to his team. Passive scouting in this particular circumstance, helping out the tank destroyers. Chaffee. And aim, and aim, and aim, and he's missed. He stopped unexpectedly. Right, we've already lost all of our scouts, and that limited gun traverse is your single biggest problem in this tank. Never mind the gun. The gun isn't really a problem. It's the gun traverse is just horrible. Small, quick moving target like that, you'll find yourself tracking him, waiting away, ready to fire. Suddenly your gun stops turning. Crap! Have to move the hull. Go right into that 2.3 second aiming cycle again.
They're hit.
Oh, good hit. Somebody tracked him. E75 finishes him off. So that was a good kill. Unfortunately, we've also lost an eye.
Enemy is hit.
Killed his engine. Come on, reload. Reload. And T-30 finishes him off. Now, where did that Persian go? There he is. There's T-30 over there as well. Persian's an easier kill. Bounced off his gun manual. That doesn't happen very often with Pershings. And that one just, we don't even know where that one went. You're going to get this a lot in tier 9 games with this machine. You shoot things and the people kill them. It's 320 damage. Oh, T95, come on. Blew his tracks off. Which is a gift to that T-54. Did he just drive in front of a T-95? A tracked T-95, and he drove in front of it. Seriously? Oh crap, T-95's looking at me. Where's he gone? Oh, T-30's looking at me. And that was a big ass hit. I don't know what it was. Let's see where it went. There you go. Yep. From the front, that's probably the best place. If you can't hit the lower glacis, that's probably the best place to shoot at this thing, because it's 90mm thick, which isn't a massive amount in a tier 9 game. It isn't even a massive amount in a tier 7 or an 8 game. And it is sloped, but it's only sloped. It's only about 30, 40 degrees back, so best chance of penetration and not a very wide target. And if you miss, there's a good chance it's going to hit this, which is angled, and bounce off. But you've got the accuracy, and you don't. I mean, you're going to risk hitting the gun mantle. We've seen how tough that is to penetrate. That's from the front at range. That's the best place to shoot at this thing. Whatever that was did 600 damage. Probably the T-30. We're actually winning this one. T-95 and a Panther. I'll take the Panther on, but I don't want to get anywhere near that T-95. Give me somewhere I can penetrate. Let's try and knock his tracks out again.
Penetration.
Oh crap, he's pointing his gun at me. That's a one-shot kill. But if he's pointing his gun at me, it means he ain't pointing his gun at the E-75 D-30 and Lorraine. And this is really all you can do in this machine in a tier 9 match. Because you ain't going to kill much. But you can support the tanks that are doing the killing.
Ricochet.
And don't forget, you're a tier 7 machine in a tier 9 game, so you get the old experience multiplier applied.
Enemy is hit.
God damn it, can't even penetrate a T-95 from the side. What's going on? That's more like it.
Penetration.
The death of 1,000 cuts.
Looks like that one went
That's
right
better.
through.
We might even get a kill here. Nah. No, Lorraine gets behind him. Lorraine is going to get the kill. And there we go, game over. So, yeah. I think we probably did the best we could possibly be expected to do in that sort of game. Don't expect to get too many kills in a tier 9 match with this gun. It's not a bad gun, it does the job. It absolutely wrecks the opposition in a tier 7 or an 8 game. But in a tier 9, nah, well, it just doesn't have, it certainly doesn't have. 219 penetration is okay. It's good on a tier 7 tank destroyer. 320 damage is okay. It's good on a tier 7 tank destroyer, but you know, well, any tier 7 tank destroyer would have had a nightmare in a game like this. The T-25/2, maybe not so much the T-25 AT. The Jag Panther would have problems in a game like this. Any tier 7 TD would. And the best you can really hope to do is just to support the team. You're definitely not the game breaker in a game like this. A lot of the vehicles you need to get around the sides and the rear to penetrate them. You don't really have the accuracy in this thing to aim at weak spots at a distance, unless we're talking about big old weak spots like the lower glacis of a Tiger II or an E-75, for example. But it's all highly situational, and the best you can really hope to do in this machine, in this kind of game, is to support the big boys. Shoot at what they're shooting, wait till they're distracted, with bigger targets to the front, sneak around the side, and then start softening them up. Blow their tracks off, keep them pinned in place so that your big fellas can finish them off at their leisure. And this is a good machine for doing that. You know, it's not all bad news, because it is very fast, it is very agile, it's low profile, it's sneaky, it's stealthy. And with good camouflage skill on the crew, you're going to find that this thing is surprisingly good at sneaking around the sides of the battlefield. The only problem, of course, is if you go sneaking around the side of the battlefield and you come across a T-54 heading the other direction. But, you know, those are the risks that you take. Oh, I do apologise, I was yawning while I was talking there. But, I mean, we've seen how it can do in the hardest possible circumstances with a match stacked with tier 9s like that. Let's have a look at something slightly more favourable. So, here we are, tier 8 match with our tier 9 tank destroyer gun. And, well, I've levelled some criticism at this gun. For being a weird choice for a tank destroyer, but while it is effectively the T-54's D-54 gun, it is a modified version of it. It does have a slower rate of fire than when it's mounted in the T-54, which kind of makes sense because of the size of that tiny fighting compartment, but it is more accurate, same damage and penetration, and it does aim faster. So here we are on the Siegfried line, tier 8 game. Much more favourable for this machine. And here come the enemy scouts. Ah, missed. Come on, come on. Oh!
Nailed it back.
Bloody hell, that was a good hit. Can we finish him off? Nah. Unlikely. Oh, we did get him. Excellent. Whole bunch of people struggling to finish him off. Okay, first blood to me, and oof, took a big hit from something there. Don't know what it was. But the armour took it. Just going to pause it here and have a quick look. Where did that one hit? No, can't really tell from here. Anyway, let's carry on. There's an SU-100M1 Hellcat over there. Alright. Oh, big hit on the Hellcat. He's doomed. But he took out our ELX. ELX? ELC. There's the SU-100M1. Now remember from the other video how tough these things are to penetrate from the front.
Penetration.
Oh, his tracks got blown off, but I don't think it was us who did it. Trying to hit his glacis. And no, we didn't get him at all. There's some carnage going on in the front of this field here. I really don't want to break cover from these bushes. Ah, Panther 2. Okay. Oh, and he straightens out so we can shoot him in the side. And another massive hit. And we blow his tracks off. Right, he's dead meat now. Can we finish him off?
Enemies hit.
Another big old hit.
We've hit them hard.
And, well, we pretty much did 90% of his health before somebody else got the kill. So I'm happy with that. Now this is a Yak Panther 2. Trying to hit his lower plate, but this T2060 T26E4 Super Pershing is an easier target. Oh, hold on. No, leave the ALX. Now these things are buggers to penetrate from the front, but he is kind of showing us his side, so we track him, do some damage, and again. And now whoever was scouting for us is, oh great, trouble. I dare say this SU-100M1 would appreciate some help, so now that EMC isn't going for him, we kill him. See if we can help him out with this AMX. He misses the AMX. No, he hits him. I hit him. Don't appear to have done any damage. Probably damaged a module of some sort. Come on, reload, reload.
Enemy is hit.
Blew his tracks off. Now he's dead meat. There he goes. And suddenly, well, we are winning, but not by that much. It looks like we're capping. Now that's going to force these guys to react. And there's that Yak Panther 2. He just took a big hit from somebody. Looks like the SU-100M1. Now if I can just... oh, she's showing me his side.
Looks like that one
Good
went right
hit.
through.
Come on, come on.
Enemy
Another
is
good hit. And that SU-100M1's cleaning up. He's on 3 kills now. Good result for him. So, there's that Super Pershing. Oof. Really don't like shooting at these things from the front. But, there you go. Penetrated the spaced armour. Didn't go any further, but he's got problems on both flanks and in front. He's not going to live much longer. Take the shot. That almost certainly bounced. But that SU-100M1 chalks up another kill. Now they only have a Lurva, a Tiger 2 and the SU-100M1, and there's the Lurva. So, oh, and if only this thing would aim a little faster. That guy was flank onto us, would have been a perfect shot. Okay, I don't want to get too close. He is spotted. Oh, he's pointing his gun at me. Oh, we hit. Okay, I need to check that one out. So, that was the Lurva's 128mm gun. And where did that one hit? Oh, check that out. Right in the gun mantle. Fantastic. And that's what I'm talking about. This thing is... it's not fantastically well armoured, but it's when you shoot at it from the front, all you're shooting at is slopes and angles. And the best place of getting a penetrating hit on this thing is the front slope of the fighting compartment. But there's not an awful lot there. you're either going to hit the gun mantle or it's going to hit the cheeks and bounce right off. And there's a very, very small target area either side of the gun mantle where you're most likely to penetrate. So from the front, this thing is a bitch to kill. Not as difficult as the SU-101, but it's by far from easy.
We nailed them back.
Perfect angle for hitting that lever. Are we going to get the killing blow? Oh, no. He knows what he's doing. He's backing off. But he's only delaying the inevitable. It's just him and the SU-101 left. Now let's put this speed to the test. Me and the SU-101 racing for the kill. Doing a Jeremy Clarkson here, rocking backwards and forwards in my seat. Come on, faster, faster! Just need to get close enough so I don't really need to aim. And derp. Gotcha. And that's it. Game over. So, yeah, 3 kills. Good result. Damaged a whole bunch of tanks. And there it is. What a machine. Surprisingly difficult to kill from the front. And it turns so well. You need, a bit of skill and a bit of speed to actually get around the thing. If you take one of these things by surprise, if he doesn't see you coming and he can't move to anticipate you trying to get around him, then yeah, these things are going to be very easy to kill. But if he does see you coming, well, good luck. Tier 7 or 8 vehicle trying to outmaneuver one of these things is going to have a hard time. And that gun, 320 average damage, 3 or 4 shots, he's really going to mess you up. I really do quite like this thing. I certainly prefer it at tier 7 over the SU-152. The SU-152 wasn't a lot of fun. Its basic choices were a derp gun or 2 very mediocre 122mm guns. This thing, it's got a much more interesting selection of weapons. The stock weapon isn't much cop, but the LB1 variant is pretty good, and this D54 is surprisingly good on a tier 7 tank destroyer. I mean, you're getting a bargain. You're getting a tier 9 tank gun on a tier 7 TD. You can't really argue with that. So, overall verdict. Well, yeah, I like this thing. I think it's a good tank destroyer. Totally different from the existing line of Russian tank destroyers. It's the polar opposite, especially considering this thing sits right next to the SU-152. And if ever there was a lumbering, big, massive target of the machine with a big old derp gun, and don't forget I'm talking about the SU-152 here, not the ISU-152. The ISU is a great machine, don't let anybody tell you different. But the SU-152 couldn't be any more different from this thing. And this is a great introduction to the new Russian tank destroyer line here at tier 7, the SU-100M1, because it's small, it's stealthy, it's very fast, it's very manoeuvrable, it's really bouncy from the front, and it has a comparatively rapid firing, high penetration, decent damage, relatively accurate gun. And speaking of the gun, and I do make a big song and dance about how this gun isn't really suited for sniping because it's not a sniping weapon on the T-54. Well, that's true, but it isn't exactly the same gun as on the T-54. There it is on the T-54, and it is actually different. It has a faster rate of fire on the T-54, which you'd expect for a brawling medium tank. But it's more accurate and has a it's more accurate and has a faster aiming time on the SU-100M1. So while it's definitely true to say you don't want to be sniping with that gun on the T-54, it does kind of work on the SU-100M1. It's just not. I mean, it's no Jagdtiger. It certainly doesn't have the laser-like accuracy and rate of fire of the Jagdtiger, but it is a modified medium tank gun, and it gets the job done in a tier 9 game. You just have to use that speed and manoeuvrability to get around the flanks of the big boys. Ideally, wait until their big boys are occupied with your big boys, and then use the stealth, low profile, speed, manoeuvrability, get around their flanks, start softening them up, blow their tracks off, keep them pinned in place for artillery. You're very much a support machine in a Tier 9 game in this tank. But that's true of any Tier 7 vehicle in a Tier 9 game, especially true of this thing. In a Tier 7 or 8 game, you're going to have a lot of fun with this thing. Tier 7 games especially. But you can still do a lot of damage in a Tier 8 game. It's just the Tier 9 games where you have to be careful. But you know what? That's no criticism of this machine. You can say that about any machine in a Tier 9 game. And it just occurred to me that I never actually went through the equipment fit or the crew skills. So we'll just quickly round that off here. This D54 on this tank is the gun with the slowest reload and aiming time. So you want a gun rammer and you want an enhanced gun lane drive. Note that it is a medium caliber tank rammer, so it's only 200,000 credits. So that'll save you some cash. Third equipment choice, I've gone with a camo net just to enhance the stealth. But you couldn't really go wrong with improved bends, just to further improve the aiming time and the reload, amongst other things. You know, like the acceleration from the driver, and so on and so on and so on. And crew skills, camo, 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 camo. As soon as the commander reaches 100%, swap it for 610s. So overall verdict on this thing would be, yeah, definitely. It's a good little tank destroyer. Completely different from the existing Russian tank destroyers. It's small, it's low profile, it's very bouncy from the front. There ain't that many... I mean, shooting from the front, if you can't hit that lower glacis, and if you're too close that the angle is impractical to shoot at that lower glacis, the only real place you can penetrate this fella from the front with any kind of consistency is the front of the turret of the fighting compartment. But you run a real risk of hitting the gun mantle, and you run a real risk of hitting the cheeks of the fighting compartment at the sides here, and there's a high chance that any shots hitting those from directly in front are just going to bounce off. And you saw this thing eat a shell from the 128mm gun on a Lerva. So, yeah, surprisingly well protected, very quick, very agile, very stealthy, with a pretty good gun. Definitely gets a thumbs up from me, and a great introduction to this new Russian tank destroyer line. So that was the review of the SU-100M1, the new Tier 7 Russian tank destroyer, the first in the new Russian TD line after the SU-100 at Tier 6. I certainly hope you enjoyed the review and the replays. Take care on the battlefield, and I'll catch you next time.